Joining us now is Avi Meir, a former IDF spokesperson who also served a stint on the U.S. House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. He's now managing director for global communications with the American Jewish Committee and is in Jerusalem. Thank you so much, Mr. Meir, for talking with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
A Hamas spokesman who we actually interviewed on our broadcast last night tells ABC News that organization will agree to a ceasefire if Israel stops incursions on the Al-Aqsa compound and stops the forced evacuations of Palestinian residents in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Should Israel accept these terms?
Look, Hamas's terms relating to Jerusalem are a pretext. This is a convenient inversion of cause and effect. In point of fact, Hamas had decided a month ago, it said so openly, to open violence with Israel. It encouraged violence between Palestinian rioters in Jerusalem and Israeli security forces. The situation in Sheikh Jarrah is a complicated legal matter, but it has nothing to do with Hamas's stated goal of destroying Israel and murdering every Jew. That is what we see playing out today. The condition for a ceasefire will be Hamas ceasing its fire, disarming and committing to the peaceful rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip. That is something that all Israelis will agree to, and I'm sure the Israeli government will as well.
Hamas fired the first rocket toward central Israel, but this latest flare-up began over potential forced evictions of several Palestinian families in Sheikh Jarrah during one of the holiest periods of the year in the Islamic calendar. Do you agree with that move?
Again, I have to clarify the timeline here. It was over a month ago that Hamas said that they were going to encourage violence in Jerusalem. Just a few weekends ago, Hamas announced publicly that they were calling on Palestinians to go into the streets of Jerusalem and behead Jews. This has nothing to do with Sheikh Jarrah. It has nothing to do with the Al-Aqsa Mosque. If anything, Hamas was behind those events as well. What we see happening today, again, is part of Hamas's overall goal of destroying Israel and murdering every Jew. They say so openly. And the only answer will be Hamas disarming and committing to the peaceful rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip and a peaceful future for Israelis and Palestinians alike.
Again, when we spoke to the Hamas spokesman, though, last night, and I talked about how they had fired the first shot, he said, but look, you're basically starting with Chapter 9. You're not looking at the first 8 chapters. And he said that the issue was specifically about those evictions, especially occurring, during Ramadan. So do you feel that there's any wrongdoing on the behalf of those evictions occurring during that time?
Well, color me surprised that a Hamas spokesperson would lie on air. The bottom line is that Hamas is committed in word and deed to the destruction of Israel. They say so openly. Hamas had decided over a month ago, you can look online, they've said so very openly, that there would be a period of violence during Ramadan. The situation in Sheikh Jarrah, again, is a complicated legal matter. It has been an ongoing case since 1972. It may have been a convenient pretext for Hamas, but the bottom line is that Hamas has been committed to in word and deed to violence and to the destruction of Israel, and that's what we see playing out today.
And we've certainly seen an unprecedented general strike across Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank due to this unrest. How much damage would you say has been done to coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians inside Israel? And also, is this a flare-up, a symptom of a deeper problem, or a few bad actors on both sides?
Look, Israel has societal problems, as does any country in the world. Any open democracy will have instances of tension between this group and that. That is unfortunately what we see bubbling to the surface here in Israel. It is extremely disturbing. We are confident, we are hopeful that that will come to an end in the near future.
And of course, you were once the former spokesperson for the IDF. We've seen pro-Palestinian protests around the globe at this point. Would you say that Israel might have a messaging problem?
Well, look, I've seen many of the protests that are happening around the world. I've seen the footage. I've heard the audio. When you have people in the streets of London or Brussels or elsewhere in Europe calling Khaybar al-Yahud, referring to a medieval battle in which Muhammad slaughtered Jews, it sounds distinctly anti-Israel or perhaps even anti-Semitic to me. This is not pro-Palestinian behavior. I think pro-Palestinian behavior would be to call for a peaceful resolution of this conflict, a two-state solution, which, of course, is what the state of Israel is committed to in word and deed, as is, of course, my organization and as are many people of conscience around the world.
And we've seen this playbook before. Hamas fires rocket, Israel retaliates, innocent lives are lost on both sides. The world is horrified. There have been no recent overtures by Israel toward a two-state solution. Is it time for Israel to reevaluate its strategy?
Well, look, I think Israel has tried time and time again to offer a two-state solution, but can only offer a solution to a partner on the other side. Unfortunately, there simply has not been one. This has been the case, by the way, for nearly 100 years. It's time for the Palestinians to say yes. If they say yes, I can tell you and I will guarantee that they will find a willing partner on the Israeli side. Israelis want nothing more than to have their children grow up in an era of peace and prosperity. They want the same for Palestinians. Should there be a willing partner on the Palestinian side, I am sure that they will find one on the Israeli side as well.
Avi Meir, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.